Chapter 12. All right, I'll meet with her. Guide her over here, I ordered. Not long after I gave order, the conference room door opened to reveal a new figure. It had not lost a second to the Soe replicant, even when he used shadow motion to guide him back. Calling her it would be rude. She was a woman, and a beautiful one. Her hair was green, her skin light, her figure well-toned, chiseled, even, like a Nordic goddess. Her luxuriant lips were a shade of light blue, matched perfectly with her deep blue eyes. She looked about 20 years old by human standards, but human she definitely was not. She was semi-transparent, and any observer could tell that her body had no weight or actual physical presence. The conference table was enveloped in silence. The dryads, long-lived though they were, rarely left their holy sanctuaries. They were heralded by some as the wardens of the whole forest of Jura, and only a few lucky ones would see one for themselves. They were fabled to exact divine punishment upon the wicked, those who damage the forests. But the dryad didn't let it faze her. She sized up the room for a moment before locking her eyes upon my figure. My greetings to you, leader of the monsters, and your followers. I am Trainee, a dryad. It is nice to meet you all. I am Rimuru Tempest, nice to meet you. I replied and asked, what brings you here? Quote, I would like you to defeat the Orc Lord, Trainee immediately replied. This rendered everyone speechless. Whoa, I protested, this monster is, like, crazy-ass strong, isn't it? Why would someone like me have to take him on? Trainee responded with a quizzical look. But the ogre mages here are intending to fight against the orcs, though, aren't they? And you plan to contribute to the effort yourself, right? You were the one who extended a hand to save all those defenseless goblins, not long ago. I had thought you would show similar kindness to us and the Treants. She smiled again. I took a deep breath. But before I could speak, of course, to our leader, Sir Rimuru, the Orc Lord is no more of a threat than a passing cockroach. She stole my thunder, a bold look of determination on her face. Geez, I'm not a god or anything. Wish she could have conferred with me first. And why's it already a given that I'm the one doing the orc slaying around here? Before I could protest, Trainee gave me another smile. Oh, she exclaimed, then it's just as I have heard. I wish you great luck against the Orc Lord, then. And that was that. I had been more or less pushed into the Orc Lord slaying role by Xian, but that didn't mark the end of the conference. We kept going, while Trainee joined us for the rest. On the map, in the marshland area, was a wooden board with lizardmen written on it. Behind it, another one marked goblins. In front of it was the spot where the two different orc contingents were going to cross paths. Putting it all down on the map like this made the sheer size of the orc force stark in our minds, but my eyes were turned elsewhere. You know, I said, if that idiot from before decided to stage an attack on the Lizardman HQ right now, he'd seize it pretty darn quick, wouldn't he? Indeed. Gabble, the so-called Lizardman envoy. If he decided to raid the Lizardmen's home turf while their main force was busy tangling with the orcs, he'd be greeted with only skeletal resistance. The caverns would be his in the blink of an eye. And the goblin forces were already in perfect position for it. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm kind of an amateur at this, so. Quote. No, interrupted Hakuro, eyes sparkling. I think you may have a point. If the main Lizardman forces deployed directly in front of them, it would be easiest to try to strike from the rear. But the orcs clearly don't have the time to try to circle behind them, and even if they attempted such folly, they could easily be attacked and routed from both sides while their lines are stretched thin. There is no reason to keep an army here. But what would the point be? Benimaru countered. Even if the goblins defeated the Lizardmen, all they'd have waiting for them is death at the hands of the orc onrush. Perhaps, Ren argued, but Gabble seemed to style himself as a leader. He may want to seize the position of chief for himself. It is possible, I agreed, and really, I see no other reason for him to position his forces here. If you think it's possible, Ren said, then that's all the more reason why we can't team up with him. Nobody offered any disagreement. I would very much like to forge an alliance with the Lizardmen, I said. By ourselves, our numbers are too low. I would hate to leave them alone and defenseless, besides. Nods around the table. Nobody seemed to have any concerns about that. But whether we have an alliance or not, we're never gonna outnumber the orcs, Ren countered. You sure they wouldn't just treat the offer like an insult? The hobgoblins seemed to view that as a problem. The ogre mages laughed them off. Lady Ren, you worry far too much. Hakuro commented. Each one of us is as powerful as an entire army. I highly doubt they would look down upon the likes of us. I thought he was giving himself far too much credit. It sounded like something Gabble would say, really. But apparently, he meant it. I will go and negotiate with them myself, Soe said. Is it all right if I speak with the Lizardman Chief on your behalf, Rimuru-sama? Right, so we're gonna take two different tacks. I'll lead an advance force over to the Lizardmen, and we'll bash up the orcs together. We'll try to win the battle, but if it starts looking bleak, that's when we'll go to Plan B where, basically, we abandon the town, regroup where the Treants are, and focus on defending them. We'll probably need to call upon human aid if it comes to that, so I'll contact Cobble the Adventurer and have them help us rub out the Orc Lord. He's just as much of a threat to them as he is to us, so I'm sure they'll step up to help. Of course, this is all dependent on forming an alliance with the Lizardmen. You're gonna be key to that, Soe. Make it happen. Yes, my lord. Soe nodded back at me. I had faith he'd come through, certainly. Right, in that case, feel free to talk to the Lizardman Chief whenever you can. Just make sure we're both equal partners in this alliance. Nobody's serving anyone else. I understand, he said, then promptly disappeared, as if fading into the shadows. He works fast, doesn't he? Thank you all for accepting my sudden request, Trainee said, bowing low in my direction. I will do my best to ensure this relationship is beneficial to us both. Oh, no, same to you, I stammered. She smiled a little in reply, perhaps finding my hesitation cute or something. We will meet again, then, leader of the monsters or Rimuru-sama, I should say. Then she was gone, casting her own magic to return home. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Rigurd was already outside of our conference room hut, carrying out my orders. Even as Goblin King, he still ran around all day like a chicken with its head cut off. Things were starting to happen. We had to do what we could, and right now, that meant we had to prepare. I gave the order to prepare for the war. The construction effort across town was continuing to go without a hitch, but we still had no real defenses in place. Not even an outer wall, since it'd get in the way of the building boom. No way we could weather out a siege or anything. It was much more logical to picture ourselves bringing the battle to them. Along those lines, I told the people not joining me to prepare to travel to the Treants. They might have to set off before we made it back to town. Before any of that, though, I had to assemble all the monsters in town and tell them what we had decided on. I tried to act as kingly as possible. The final battle will be waged in the marshlands, I began. If we win there, we're good. If we don't, I'll let you know via thought communication, so I want you to abandon this place and flee to the Treant settlement. I'll also ask the humans for help, if it comes to that, and you'll likely fight alongside them against the Orcish army. I'll be honest with you, this isn't some gang of little kids. I'm planning to win this, but if I don't use that as an excuse to lose your heads. You gotta stay calm and follow the plan. Now, the people joining me in the primary force. The monsters slowly grew more excited, not knowing what to expect. I guess they all wanted part of the action. I didn't remember them being so warlike, but who knows? Whatever. I didn't let it bother me as I continued. For this battle, we will deploy with a team of 100 goblin riders with Benimaru as their commander. Hakura will be his aide-de-camp, and Shion will be our main point man on the field. Soe will be joining us, although he's elsewhere at the moment, and I suppose Ranga will be my transport. That is all. Any questions? I could hear small commotions arise among the crowd. 100 must have seemed like an awfully small number. I saw Shuna and Ren make their way to the front, serving as their voice. Ren and Shuna looked at each other. After a brief pause they nodded to each, coming to some conclusion. They are getting along quite well, to the point of being able to communicate through looks alone. Rimuru-sama, Ren asked, isn't that far too few people? And we didn't hear our name called, either. What is the meaning of this? The meaning? Well, you know, since Shuna is princess and all, I hesitated to expose Shuna to a life and death situation. And Ren, even though she started learning sword skills, she is still inexperienced, and on top of that she doesn't have any skill, which makes it even harder for her to fight. Yeah, well, you know, Shuna, I'll need someone to lead the rest of the people here. If we have to negotiate with Treants and Dryads later, Rigurd's gonna have a hell of a lot on his plate, right? Your presence would do a lot to give the women and children some peace of mind, too. As for Ren, we need someone to protect this town. Being otherworlder, you can use your knowledge from your past life, which will greatly help in managing people here. It sounded plausible enough, as I tried to convince them with it, and it basically seemed to work. In that case, we will live up to the role, both said in unison, which was a relief. Both of them have a fan base around town, Shuna for her kind nature and cute looks, Ren for her reliableness and cool looks. I also thought it was a good role for them. After my speech had ended, I was now headed for this sewing room. Shuna said she wanted some help, so I came, greeting Shuna as I stepped inside. She smiled back at me, now wearing a beautiful, kimono-like dress she must have sewn herself at some point. It looked meant for a priestess, but designed to be as easy to move in as possible. The top was pure white in color, but the skirt part was a light pink, like Shuna's own hair, and it made for a cute-looking picture. One look and you could see what kind of techniques she had at her fingertips. I was expecting great things. But that was a mistake. Why, you ask? Reason. Tilda. Shuna let out a squall. You look so cute. Shuna stared at me spellbound, clearly blushing. Rimuru-sama, you look great, Ren said enthusiastically. Try this one next. I have been forced to wear cute dresses one by one. When I came here, Shuna asked me to try some of the clothes she made. Apparently Ren has given her lots of designs of cute clothes, and now I became their dress-up doll. Ren and Shuna are choosing clothes for me, Shion is putting on makeup on me, and Haruna is polishing my nails. ... After some time, I received word from Soe. Sir Rimuru, do you have a moment? He asked via thought communication. Oh, Soe, perfect timing, I replied via thought communication. I am sorry girls, Soe has something important to report, I said with a serious tone. I have to go now. I used this excuse to run away from their clutches. Ah. Girls whined disappointed, then they said in unison, please come again later. I promise, I hastily replied, after defeating the Orc Lord, and ran away. After that I went back to my temporary office and sat on the sofa. After that I loosened twin braids and removed heeled knee-high boots, and sat comfortably. It might be improper behavior while wearing a dress, but I was alone, so it's fine. Then after taking a deep breath I asked Soe for a report. I was able to meet with the Lizardman chief. He seemed willing to accept the alliance, but he asked for you to personally come see him. Rimuru-sama, Soe replied via thought communication. Sounds good, I replied, we're gonna fight this out in the marshes anyway. So when would you like to hold the discussions, sir? He asked. We'll probably need time to prepare, I replied. The Goblin Riders will need a few days for the journey. A week from now, maybe. So 7 days. Very well, I will work to make it happen. Soe replied and ended the link. I hope it'd work out. Kaijin already had my next order 100 sets of Goblin Rider weapons and armor, as soon as possible. Benimaru and Hakuro needed some, too, not to mention Shion, but they could wait. Soe would be home soon anyway, they could get it arranged then, together. Kurobe was taking care of our weapons, Shuna and Garmar armor, and they'd be done with it soon enough. Hey, Gobta-kun, are you free? I asked. NHH, whenever you say that, I have a feeling it never works out too well for me. Gobta replied rather rudely. Ah, you're just imagining things. You're going, too, right? I said. Gobta stopped short of replying. I smiled at him. He froze. Of course, he shouted nervously. I didn't appreciate the weirdness of that act, but I chalked it up to the ominous aura I could feel behind me. Well, guess a smile from Ren was more effective than anything I could cook up in slime form. She nodded at Gobta's reply, looking down at me as I mulled over the power she wielded. So Gobta was our Goblin Rider leader. No one had any complaints despite his occasional wobbles, they recognized how capable a hobgob he was. Rigyur was just as enthusiastic about the decision, so I didn't foresee any problems. Just as I was done wrapping this up, Soe came back. I apologize for the delay, he said as he appeared from Benimaru's shadow like some master ninja. You could just fall in love with him, the way he moved. So let's get started, then. We prepared our armor and clothing, then I and Ogre Mages went to Kurobe's workshop to take our weapons. Benimaru had an elegant, flowing longsword, Hakuro a large staff with a sword hidden inside, Soe a pair of ninja-style blades. They all looked happy with them, and I could see why each one was a perfect fit for their owner. One thing did bother me, though. Shion's war blade. It's kind of too big, isn't it? This is probably the largest weapon I've ever built, Kurobe said, smiling confidently as he watched Shion. I figured she could take advantage of it. And he was right, Shion couldn't have looked happier. Finally, it was time for my own weapon. It looked like a plain old Japanese-style katana, but since it was made by Kurobe, I was sure it was a masterful piece of work. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. It was night and we were to leave the next morning, so everyone was preparing and resting. At that time I called Hakuro for a very important task. "Oh Hakuro," I called, "I hope I didn't disturb you." "Not at all, Rimuru-sama," Hakuro replied. "What you need from me, my lord?" Quote, "Well, you see," I started speaking a little hesitantly, "we are going to fight an orc lord tomorrow." Quote, Hakuro nodded and looked at me silently, urging me to continue. "Well, you see," I continued, "Orc Lord is a rather strong opponent." Quote, "You are right, but don't worry," Hakuro started talking in an attempt to reassure me, "we ogre mages are more than strong enough to fight Orc Lord." "Yes, I trust your strength," I added, "but the problem is the person behind the Orc Lord. There is a possibility it is a demon lord." "Yes, I am aware of that," Hakuro said, nodding. After a brief pause to gather my thoughts, I decided to go straight to the point. "Let me get straight to the point," I said. "You see, if we defeated Orc Lord, it might mean interfering in some scheme of Demon Lord, which will certainly make him enrage." I looked at Hakuro for his agreement. He nodded. "What I want to say is I have a unique skill that helps me learn stuff easily," I said. "Unique skill?" surprised Hakuro muttered. "Yes, it's a unique skill that helps me learn faster, but the true essence of my unique skill Matheno is to copy skills," I continued, "and I wish to use that skill to copy all of your sword skills." "To copy my sword skills?" Hakuro muttered, flabbergasted. "I know it might be affront to the person who honed his skills for decades, but I want to do everything I can to protect this place," I said and bowed my head down. Rimuru-sama, you mustn't have to bow your head to a humble old man like me," Hakuro quickly said, panicking. "This is not an order but a request," I said, lifting my head. "Will you allow me to copy your sword skills? You can decline if you want, I won't hold that against you." Hoo, Hakuro laughed and said, "I am your servant Rimuru-sama, and my sword skills are yours to have. Beside, even without you copying my skill, I am certain you would have learned my skills in a few years." Quote, "Thank you Hakuro," I said, heartfelt. Who think nothing of it," Hakuro replied with laughter. After getting Hakuro's consent, I used Predator to pull him in my stomach, and then I used Matheno to copy all his sword skills. You could say now I became a decent sword man. I can't call myself a master yet since I copied Hakuro's skill and did not master it. It will take time to master it, but for now it is good enough. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. The next day, the goblin riders were by and large ready to roll, lined in a perfect row with a week's worth of provisions strapped to their backs. "We've got an orc lord to take down," I shouted at them. "Let's make this quick." I deliberately kept the pep talk short. No point getting too eager. We need to keep our eyes focused on the situation around us, and the simpler the objectives, the better. The riders, nonetheless, gave their war cries of approval in response, the deafening roar echoing across town. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. 3 days had passed since we left town. The trees were thinning out, indicating we were near the marshlands. We were ahead of schedule, thanks to keeping our luggage to a minimum. For now, though, we were resting here. I figured we would chill a bit, checking out the area before we contacted the lizard men. We weren't due to meet with the chief for 3 days, and if we were this far along, there was no need to hurry. I ordered everyone to stand by, make camp, and rest up. "I will scope out the area," Rimuru-sama, Soe quickly offered. He was definitely the man for it. "All right, Soe, let me know what you find. And try to figure out where the boss of the orcs is, if you can." About an hour into our camping prep, I received a message. "Is now a good time, sir?" My thought communication sprang into action as I rested, watching everyone at work. "What is it? Did you find something?" "Well, I found a group engaged in battle." "What? Gabble." "No, not him. There's only one lizard man, someone I believe to be a close aide to the chief. Here against a group of orcs, one high-level orc, plus more under his command. Around 50 in all. Could you defeat this higher-level orc and his men?" "It should be simple, sir." "All right. Try to observe them for as long as you can and relay what happens afterward. I feel bad for that lizard man, but keep your distance for the time being. Step in if you think the battle's gonna turn fatal. Don't let the lizard man die." "Yes, my lord," gathered everyone together. "Listen, people," I said, "we're not camping. It sounds like something's going down. I saw the faces of the goblin riders tense up. So we're fighting? One asked. Likely, yeah, our enemy numbers approximately 50, so I want to see 2 of you tackle each one. Remember, the orc lord's capable of absorbing the abilities of dead enemies. So don't push it. If you think you're in trouble, get out of there. Are we clear on that? Yes sir. They cheered, Gobta leading them on. We reached Soe as he deflected a sword slash from an orc that had just jumped off a tree limb. Gah, who are you? The long-armed orc shouted at me, his face a mixture of pig, wild boar, and human. Here to be consumed by an orc general. How dare you act so rudely around Sir Rimuru? Xian fired back, staring the general down with her unnervingly cold eyes. Oh, you. I looked down at this new, faint voice. It belonged to a lizard man, looking up at me. She appeared to be cowering, wounded from head to toe and just barely breathing. She had lost a lot of blood. I doubted she'd last long unaided. I knew I had asked Soe to remain impartial for as long as possible, and I guess he followed my orders to the letter. He wasn't at fault for that. Drink this, I said, tossing the lizard man a recovery potion. She hesitated for a moment but quickly drained the bottle. The effect was dramatic in an instant, all the cuts and bruises were gone. What on? Impossible. The orc general and lizard man both expressed their surprise simultaneously. Nice. That oughta improve my representative a little. Good thing I earned some brownie points with these guys before the big meeting with the chief. I patted myself on the back. The lizard man approached me. Please, sir, please, I need you and your envoy to rescue my father, the lizard man chief, and Gabble, my brother. She was on one knee, head bowed down, as if praying to me. What? I was about to ask what happened to her when the orc general came rushing in. Get in my way, and I'll eat you first. He bellowed, crossing his scimitars in front of him. He was probably trying to catch me by surprise, but in a flash, Xian was in front of me, landing a single slash with her heavy blade. The orc general instinctively recrossed his swords to block the attack, but Xian's sheer force knocked them right out of his hands. The extra skill steel strength put her power off the charts, even by non-human standards, so I should have expected as much. Why, you're kidding me, the orc general managed to gasp out. Then things got even worse for him. Just as I was about to order Soe to interrogate him, everything finished. Die. The voice was accompanied by a single flash of light, backed up by a low rumble. And with it, the orc general ceased to exist in any physical sense. I have given this impudent fool the divine punishment he deserves, my lord. She smiled at me, anticipating the praise that was no doubt coming. I mentally shifted gears as I turned to the lizard man. At least we wouldn't be interrupted any longer. There's still a few days until our meeting. What happened? She looked at Soe and me in succession before setting her eyes upon me. I am the daughter of the lizard man chief, she said, conviction clear in her voice. I serve as the head of his royal guard. In advance of our alliance, my brother Gabble has overthrown the royal family and imprisoned the chief. He intends to wage open battle against the orcs, but he vastly underestimates their strength. If this keeps up, we will lose, and the lizardman race will be wiped off the land. She paused for a moment, searching for the right words. The chief instructed me not to put an undue burden upon you as I related this message. But, please, as the one who offered us this alliance, I beg you to help us. Now she was fully prostrated on the ground at me. Soe, can you shadow motion yourself to where the chief is? I asked. I can, sir, replied confidently. All right, I hereby order you to rescue the lizardman chief. If anything gets in the way of our alliance, eliminate it. Yes, my lord, so you'll. Oh, thank you so much. The lizardman was beside herself with gratefulness. We're off, then, Soe said. The lizardman bowed deeply before turning to Soe. He placed his hands on her hips and began shadow motion, disappearing from our sight in an instant. With Soe taking care of the chief, I went back to my original work of surveying the battlefield. Things had ramped up, apparently, so I didn't have time to waste. You aren't planning to venture into battle yourself, are you, Sir Rimuru? That's my plan, Benimaru. And I'd like to see things with my own eyes before deciding on anything. Scoping out the situation was basic stuff, I thought, and I did want to check and see if Gabble was alive. Benimaru, however, was vehemently opposed. My lord, wait a moment. Hakuro and I could handle the job well enough by ourselves. You and Xian could simply observe us from afar, instead. Indeed, Sir Rimuru, you are my leader, and the leader of us all. I am sure it would be wiser to leave this battle to us, in this case. I should be fine, they are stronger than before, and if the problem occurs I will take care of it. I'm gonna be watching the situation from the skies above. I'll give out orders depending on how things go, so I'll let you handle the details on the ground, Benimaru. Alright, fair enough, then, that seemed to appease him well enough. I sprouted my wings from my back. It would take about an hour of running to make it out of the forest, but in the air, it took barely any time at all. Now I was above the battlefield, checking out the entire situation. I was a bit too high up to distinguish between the two sides, but I could use magic sense to figure it out well enough. To be continued.